Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Bewitchy podcast. Let's talk about people looking really witchy. You need to stop trying to look like a witch and start being one. Seriously, I see it every day. If your altar is looking like a high-end Pinterest board, it does look fucking good though, and your bank account's empty, your car won't start half the time, your landlord's banging on your door, you're actually just a decorator with a candle problem. It's better than being a decorator with a drug problem. But anyway, today I want to strip away all that velvet and the glitter. No, I fucking love velvet and glitter. I don't like this. Anyway, guess what? You can have both. You can be all that shit. You can be the fucking decorator and you can be the witch. Casting spells and kicking ass. Anyway, we're going to strip away all the velvet and glitter and we're going to get down to the raw, dirty and dangerous history of the cunning folk. These weren't people who sat around just vibing and looking good. Often they didn't look good at all. These were the people, or mind you, I do like that look as well. I mean, you can combine them. Velvet, glitter and dirty. I mean, I suppose we do that at the Bewitchy store. Look, these were the people who got things done. While the rest of the world was busy being proper and pompous and whatever. We're talking about the roots of the trade, the reality of survival, and why your magic needs a bit more grit and a lot less glamour. You know, it's okay for your altars to look shitty. It doesn't have to look pretty. Who says? Well, just so it looks pretty for, you know, so you get more hits on it, more views. And half of it's fucking shit. I was watching a little thing, what do you fucking call it? Sorry. Oh, we'll just say video, whatever. On Facebook the other day, I was unfortunate enough to have it come through my newsfeed, but that being said, I do get to use it as a good example. Look fucking great. Look beautiful. Beautiful, pretty, nice nails, whatever. The actual spell was a load of fucking dog shit. Burning your own hair, giving out that information freely to people who don't know what they're doing. Burning your own hair in a spell is an advanced witchcraft spell. You've got to either, and even if it wasn't advanced, okay, a beginner could do it, sure, but you got to really know what you're doing and you've got to really be 100% confident in what you're doing. Telling people willy-nilly, or here, cut some of your fucking hair off and burn it to protect yourself, well, I'm sorry, but I'm looking at that going, well, you're burning yourself. You're hurting and harming yourself if you've got the wrong mindset or think the wrong things while you're doing it. It is a thing and you can do it, but you do have to do it cautiously. So anyway, that's what's wrong with the world right now. Everyone's just doing pretty little videos and putting bullshit content in there. Okay, have the pretty little videos. I'm not against that. We do it too. But the spells that we're putting in there, they're real. They're true. They're not going to fuck you up. And if they are something that's going to fuck you up, you're going to get a warning. Don't say we didn't warn you. But a lot of these people are just doing it for likes, follows, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's none of our business. Who cares? But at the end of the day, it would be nice to see some realness. It would be nice for glamour to be less important and the spell itself to be what is important, blah, blah, blah. Let's talk about survival over aesthetics. So traditional cunning folk didn't have the luxury of metaphysical boutiques, metaphysical elite boutiques like we do. They had iron nails like we have at the Bewitchy store, FYI, online and in person, rock salt, their own spit, and a terrifyingly intimate knowledge of the land and those people on it. They were the ones the village people feared and loved in equal measure because they were the only ones who could solve the problems of the law and the church couldn't touch it. A little bit of a rant here. They weren't Wiccan. Another common misconception that all witches are Wiccan. Wiccan is actually a witchcraft religion, which is fine. But they preach a whole, threefold law bullshit that some of us aren't into. These people didn't have the reed telling them what they couldn't do. If a thief stole a farmer's horse, the cunning woman wouldn't send him love and light. Oh, please send him love and light, the poor man. May a horse be restored, and if he needs the horse, blah, blah, blah. She made him itch and burn like the piece of shit deserved until he practically crawled back to return the animal. No, I'm only joking about the piece of shit then, because obviously, look, if somebody's stealing, they're probably needing to. Particularly back in those days, it was actually pretty sad. But all jokes aside, she did punish him until he actually found it within himself to return the animal. He was so scared and stuff. So, it wasn't a hobby. It was a trade, like blacksmithing, I suppose. And if your spells didn't work, you didn't eat. So, for her spell to work, whatever. If she wanted payment, that spell had to work. I remember actually doing a story for the Bewitchy magazine, and I don't exactly recall the person, so I'm not going to bullshit and quote that, but I do remember finding a case where a person was arrested, and not because they were evil, but because that person's cures were more effective than the local doctors. And you've probably heard similar stories or seen them in movies anyway. But the authorities hated him so much that because he held that sort of power of those results, almost curing people. Anyway, that is the energy that we are reclaiming today. Today in this podcast, I want you to reclaim that energy. Results over reputation every single time. Take your power back. Don't worry about it if it looks fucking ugly. Who cares? Often the ugliest, dirtiest spells are the ones that actually genuinely work. You put more into them. And that's the truth. Crystals. Okay, today we're going to talk about black tourmaline. And I do want to say this. Black tourmaline is something that I think we all need, but if you can't get a piece of black tourmaline, get the next best thing, another black stone. Black stones are great for protection, absorbing negative energies, grounding, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. So before we dive deep into the dark stuff, let's talk about grounding. Black tourmaline is great for that. So I don't necessarily want you to go around buying those tiny polished beads that look like plastic, but I do love them too. You need the raw, chunky, workers grade stuff. It doesn't just absorb bad vibes. It acts like a lightning rod. Kick ya. It takes the static of the world and it shunts it straight into the earth. So anything coming at you, boom, boom, is going to go straight through and away from you. Not through you, but through the stone. If you're doing heavy work and if you're dealing with people who are spiritually leaky, like anal leakage, shitting all over you, you need this in your pocket, okay? 100%. Or in your bag, whatever, but in your pocket's much better. On your person, heaps better. Used to hate that saying, is it on your person? Yeah, bitch, keep it on your person. So try and get a piece of the real, raw, real deal tourmaline. And look, you can buy it from our website, bewitchy.com.au and bewitchy.us. If you go to bewitchy.com, by the way, it will take you to the other sites. These are the stones for workers. They're not for jewelry boxes. So grab a piece, hold it to your hand and feel the weight of that protection. Feel it absorbing that negative energy. The cunning trade secrets. So let's talk about the spiritual PSA of the day. Magic is physical. The cunning folk used physical objects to trap negative energy. They didn't just visualize, they hammered nails into footprints. Here's a little naughty detour for you. One of my favourite historical bits, and I've written about this in the Bewitchy magazine, is the witch bottle. if you thought someone was cursing you, you didn't just pray for protection. You took a bottle, filled it with pins, needles, and blah, 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 and your own biological samples, let's say. And you buried it. The idea was that any curse sent your way would get snagged on the pins and drowned in the bottle with your urine. So, look, I still personally do those myself. I highly recommend them. And, you know, again, witchcraft isn't for everyone. And the darker side of witchcraft isn't for everyone. And you've got to work with what feels right to you. Don't go doing this just because I said it was a good idea. Do it only because, you know, you've tried everything else, nothing's working, or it just sits well with you. A lot of people nowadays are very clean, you know, with their magic, love and lighters, but at the same time, you know, they're professing to be clean, but on the other side of their mind, it's very dark. Some people are afraid to get their hands dirty, and that's fine. Karma, threefold law, blah, blah, blah. But the cunning tradition I've mentioned in my book is built on the sweat of the brow. You know, you've got to work for it. That being said, I've tried to make those spells as simple as possible. If you want someone to stop talking about you, you don't just ask the universe, and you don't just ask them to stop. You take a cow's tongue, one that you buy from the butcher or supermarket, and you sew it with an iron wire, and you bury it at the crossroads. It's about the physical representation of your will. If you aren't willing to put in the physical effort, don't expect spiritual results. You know, like, look at also offerings, you know. Are you using a god, a goddess? Are you working with the power of the universe? Do you believe in God? Because you know what, believe it or not, there's a lot of Christian witches out there. I can't even say it. I know, it's making me stutter too. You know, there's a lot of people that combine, you know, Catholicism, and I know I'm finding it really hard. I feel like I'm starting to get hot. I'm getting hot in here. Anyway, religion and witchcraft, a lot of arguments about that as well. You know, do they belong together, blah, blah. I just think do whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. If it works for you and you're happy with living a double standard life. No, I'm only joking. Look, if you're happy doing that, that's your business, man. Honestly, I don't care. You got to do what you got to do. And if, you know, stabbing someone, you know, with a pin in a picture one day and then praying to God the next is all good with you, then you do you. I honestly just don't care. It's that time of the podcast. We're going to talk about tools, and I want to talk about the mortar and pestle. So if you don't know what one of those are, it's the, you know, the ceramic or the stone bowl with the little tool that you grind around. That's the simplest way I can put it, I suppose. It's often used for herbs or to grind things down, nuts or whatever, in cooking. Some people still use those instead of using electric blenders. But if you want to feel the real cunning tradition, you got to put down the pre-mixed oils you bought online, and you get yourself a heavy mortar and pestle. That being said, we do sell pre-mixed oils and pre-mixed herbs and stuff like that, because we understand that today, you know, with the way that it's a crazy fast-paced life nowadays, we understand that you won't necessarily get the time, or even if you did get the time, you might fuck it up, or you might not have the confidence in doing your own shit. So that's okay too. There is no shame in that. Again, bewitchy.com.au if you want to buy any of that stuff. We sell mortar and pestles, wood ones, stone ones, whatever. But also it's okay to buy your shit from us. You don't have to do it yourself. But I tell you now, it does feel really fucking good to sit down with that, if you got the time, the mortar and pestle, and put the groundwork into it. Because when you're really grinding that primal power, with that physical act of grinding the herbs, the resins and salts, you know, you could be chanting, putting that intention in, which is what we do for you, by the way. And that's why our shit is so good. Anyway, you're literally crushing your intention into the material when you do that, right? The sound of the stone on stone, if you're using a stone one, That is a ritual in itself. It's noisy, it's physical, it's a vibe, and it's effective. When you grind your own powders, you're putting your own juice and vibe and intention into the magic, as I said before. So, I kind of want to say stop being a little bitch and grab it and get into your own power, but also we respect and appreciate that not everyone has time for that. Plus, also, it really is a lot of work, honestly. Why do it if you can pay someone else to do it? But again, go ahead, support. Buy online or head on over to our website, and we do actually have a little spell book thing. I'm just going to go and look it up. Where is it? I've seen that quite a few people have actually subscribed to it recently, which is kind of cool. So we have a free readings portal too, by the way. You can actually get free tarot readings, a witch's report, astrology report, free chakra report. It's under the free readings portal on the Australian website. I don't know that that's on the American one yet, but we will put it up there. But you're welcome. It doesn't matter where you're from. You can use whatever website you want. Just keep in mind, though, the shops do differ, like the actual content of them. Yeah, a lot of things on the US site are sent without shipping fees, I think, the last time I looked at it. So we do also have a Mystic Fortune hub. I don't know where the link's gone for this, honestly. I thought it was there. I'll have to look into that for you guys. But, yeah, I wanted to see if it was on the website, but it's not showing. That's a shame. I will go and look it up right now, though, because I know where it is, where else it is. And, yeah, because... Well, I guess what my point is anyway, what I'm looking for, is that on that website, you can go and click on there and there's spells and stuff in there. It will be getting updated every few sort of months with more spells, but bear with me. Looking. I think this is it. Okay, that's not it. All right. I'll tell you what I'll do. Instead of wasting time sitting here trying to find it, I will pop the link into the podcast when it's published. And so, yeah, so there is actually like a little spell, a little like book of spells that are really, really helpful. Yeah, so that will help you with, rituals, recipes, spells, things like that, but also the blogs anyway. The blogs are full of recipes and things like that as well. And I think actually you can buy them as well on our shop. I know we're bringing out a book again soon anyway, full of them as well, which I'll mention. So that's it for today, guys. But I do just want to say that here's a classic cunning trick for you, is the salt and iron floor wash. Just a bit of a disclaimer though, it does contain iron fillings. You don't have to use iron fillings. You could get some rusty old nails or something. The only thing I don't like about iron fillings is, if a little bit drops on the floor or, it could get into your skin, hurt someone. So I don't really recommend them. I'd rather use rusty nails or something like that. But again, also caution because, tetanus is a thing. So the trick is this. You mix rock salt, iron filings, I don't know why I was saying fillings, filings, rusty nails, whatever, a splash of vinegar into a bucket of water. And then what I want you to do is I want you to scrub your front step. And as you're scrubbing, visualize a wall of iron spikes rising from the threshold. Then you could recite, by salt and iron this path is closed to the unwanted. By vinegar and grit the rot is washed away. So history is a weapon. Don't let them tell you that you have to be nice to be powerful. All this love and light shit, honestly, 9 times out of 10 it really doesn't work. It's a load of fucking crap. But at the same time, sometimes it's the best karmatic thing to do for some people. It really depends on the situation. But I want you to go to work and get your hands dirty. And remember, results are the only initiation that matters. So you need to get your hands dirty. If you do, you do. And if you get the results, then, perhaps it was supposed to be. But also for some of you, there will be repercussions and there will be karma, and you have got to take that on board. So I'm not going to say you go out and curse, your ex or do this and that, because at the end of the day, does the person actually deserve it? There's another little story that I could cover about some witches from a witches group on Facebook who came after me. Unfortunately for them, I wasn't lying when I said I was a psychic medium. So when somebody sets out a spirit against me, I'm going to see it and I'm going to talk to it. And in that particular story, when that spirit realized that it was sent to me on false pretenses and lies, and that I was actually the good guy telling the truth, it is those people who have ended up with serious repercussions over the last several years. Very serious, very. Now, I didn't go about and curse them, but that spirit went back and caused all of them a great deal of harm because they set something upon an innocent person, and you don't do that. Unless you're willing to accept the repercussions that could possibly come with doing that, then you don't do it. So act with caution. Be careful what you wish for. Yada, yada, yada. And good night.